Hey folks, I'm attorney Roger P. Foley, and today I'm going to tell you a story about my mess up. All right. Several years ago, 8-9 years ago, I get a case representing a gentleman from out of the jurisdiction, and he is arrested for a felony and 2 misdemeanors. Felony is a 3rd-degree felony, a 1st-degree misdemeanor punishable by up to a year, and a 2nd-degree misdemeanor punishable by up to 60 days. All right. So I get this case and I start working on it. Now, I believe my client. He tells me what happened. I don't want to be too detailed because I do some investigation. I end up hiring a private investigator. I myself end up going to the location prior to the investigator because I want to see this, because if I can see it, I can understand it, I can make my legal argument. So I go to this location. I look at the hours of operation. I look at whether there's cameras in there. And obviously I get the discovery. Now, I'm dealing with a prosecutor. This doesn't always happen, but it does happen. That's not professional. Doesn't return phone calls, doesn't respond to emails. And how can I say that after 8 or 9 years? Because I just looked at all the emails without response, sending it to this guy. And I'm not shitting on prosecutors. I love the prosecutors that get back and just say, hey, received, got it. Hey, I got it. Let's talk next week, calendar something. I dislike the ones that don't respond and don't show professionalism, right? Anyway, I just looked through, I don't know, dozens of emails where I'm saying, hey man, did you watch the video that I got you? Right? Then no response. Then, hey man, we took the deposition. I showed you the video. Are you dropping this or what? During our conversation after the depo, you explicitly said you're going to a supervisor to look to get the case dismissed or reduced in charges. Hey, I'm still waiting. I'm emailing you. I'm calling you. Then an email from my assistant saying something to the effect of, hey, the prosecutor wants to change this, and me going, I don't give a crap. This guy never responds to emails, never responds to phone calls, messages. No, let him explain to the judge. I'm going to court. After that stressful time, and when I say stressful time, this thing takes like a year and a half. I mean, it's time and a lot of work. And finally, the prosecutor says, okay, I'm going to get rid of the felony, the 3rd-degree felony, and I think I had already had the 2nd-degree misdemeanor dropped in case filing. Okay. So the client's going to plead no contest. That's the offer. I still think that the offer is probably ridiculous, and now that I'm thinking about it, I still was bothered by it. But my job is to get the best plea that I can, talk to my client, let them make a decision. You want to go to trial with it, you want to do it. Client just said, look, it's 6 months, it's basically withholding court cost, and it's 6 months bail and probation. I'm never going to get in trouble. Nice person. He goes, that's what I prefer to do. So we do that. All right. We're scheduled. Something happens, and that's where this message from the assistant comes in. I don't know. He can't make it. He's sick. Something happens like last minute. And we're going. Now my client comes in from out of the jurisdiction. Wasted time. No one can cover for him. No one knows the case. It's not assigned to them. Ugh. Okay. So the case gets reset a couple of days or a week or whatever the time was. Now I'm either in a trial or a motion, and I'm stuck in another courtroom. I may have even been stuck in a different jurisdiction. I honestly don't recall 8-9 years ago. But I know I got stuck, and I had an emergency situation where I couldn't get back because I was, again, in trial or a motion with another court. And I called another attorney and said, hey, can you help me? I'm in a bind. This guy's, come in from so-and-so area. I don't want to reset it again. this is what it is. I sent a text, and I can't even remember who the attorney was. So anyway, the client calls me and goes, look, I've been having problems with this 8-9 years later. It's on my record. I'd like to get it sealed or expunged, whatever I can do. Well, you'd be eligible for sealing. But I start to look at the paperwork. And the first thing I look at is the final dispo. And it's sort of ambiguous. It looks like it says count 2. Then I'm like, okay, what's count 2 on the information? Okay, count 2 is the first degree misdemeanor. So it says pleading count 2, 6 months of probation. But then when I look at the paperwork that's sent to probation, it says the defendant pled to the 3rd degree felony. Then I'm like, where's the plea sheet? Then I'm looking at the plea sheet, and I'm like, wait a second, that's not my handwriting. And that's where I realized the situation where I was in another courtroom. I don't remember who I called, but the attorney writes in the plea, where you normally say the charges is pleading guilty, no contest, whatever, to these charges. That attorney puts the felony and the misdemeanor, and then he says, or she says, whoever covered for me, says, if the court accepts it, the state will dismiss the felony, no pros the felony, and plead to the misdemeanor. I'm going, why would it be written like that? Like, I would never write it like that. I don't know anyone who would write it like that. Moral of the story is, if you want it done right, do it yourself. There's a clerk mistake. There's a probation mistake. You know what the biggest mistake was? Me. Because I got stuck in that courtroom, and I should have said to that judge, listen, judge, I got to go, or tried to appear telephonically or do something. But in hindsight, and I remember, an attorney in Fort Lauderdale, and I'm not going to say his name, older gentleman. And I remember asking him to cover something for me once. And a lot of people, cover for other attorneys, and because everything's already worked out. And he said, I don't ever do that. He's like, your case, your plea. If you need a continuance, I can step in for continuance. I remember thinking, like, why is this old guy like this? Well, now I know why the old guy's like this. Because now 8-9 years later, I'm going to have to pull the record, right? Because I got to seal this guy's record. I know what the case is. I know what my notes say. I may have to pull the record, the transcript, the audio, because when I go to seal it, I may run into problems because the paperwork looks all ambiguous. It just mistake from the way the plea's written up to the way the disposition seems accurate, but the probation record shows felony. I'm like, brah. If you want it done correctly, do it yourself. I got to learn to delegate. No! Because people screw shit up. Anyway, now I got to go back 8-9 years and fix the case. So I'm attorney Roger P. Foley. Thanks for listening. Have a good day.